Hey guys, welcome back. I'm bringing another update on the Oxford school shooting where 15-year-old Ethan Crumbley brought a rifle to school and shot and killed four classmates and wounded others. The parents of Tate Marie, who was one of the victims killed in the school shooting, has filed the lawsuit against the school officials along with two other students and their parents. 13 on your side had wrote, a new lawsuit in the Oxford High School shooting case was announced Thursday morning. The suit was filed on behalf of William and Cherie Marie, parents of shooting victim Tate Marie, student Keegan Gregory and his parents Chad and Megan Gregory, and students Sophia and Grace Kempin and their mother Lauren. Attorney Vin Johnson held a press conference detailing the accusations against alleged shooter Ethan Crumbley, his parents Jennifer and James Crumbley, and employees at Oxford High School, including two school counselors, the dean of students, and three teachers. I've said from the very beginning in my last video, I felt they needed to hold the school accountable and the parents, because it was no way this 15-year-old could just bring a gun to school like that. And remember, originally in the beginning, they were saying he left the school, came back within an hour, and committed the act. I'm going to play the news conference with the families of the victims, attorney Vin Johnson, and he's going to break down how not only were the parents aware of him needing immediate help, but the school officials were too.
New lawsuit was announced in Oxford shooting. This one alleged school officials and the accused shooter's parents were grossly negligent.
The court filing argues that school counselors did not do enough to stop the suspect on November 30th and hesitated when it could have been prevented.
Three families are plaintiffs in this suit, including the family of Tate Meyer, the 16-year-old football player who was one of the four students killed. 13 on your side's Justin Bachman joining us in the newsroom. And Justin, what are they hoping to achieve with this lawsuit?
Kirk, the overarching theme from the parents at this morning's news conference was a desire for change. They want more accountability from school leadership, and they want to use the money from damages to create a cultural shift as well.
Today's the 58th morning we've woken up without Tater.
The mornings have not gotten easier for the Meyer family.
This was really a tough decision for our family. We're fully aware that people will misperceive why we're doing this.
They've joined two other victim families in a suit against two Oxford school counselors, the dean of students, and three unnamed teachers, as well as the Crumbley family.
All they had to do was call 911, and they never did.
As government employees, school officials are protected by government immunity. So this suit will have to prove malicious or reckless negligence.
That day, he needed to be taken to an emergency room and seen.
For the families, they know how the lawsuit may look from the outside.
We're not tone deaf. This is a terrible time to do something like this. School went back this week, and people faced walking through those doors with courage and resolve.
They say it's what needs to be done to see change.
Mental health awareness. This has been a long time coming, and I get it. It's a tough issue to address.
The Meyer family wants to start a foundation providing mental health support and mentoring to kids in honor of Tate's memory. His father believes if the alleged shooter had someone mentoring him, there's a chance Tate would still be around.
If this kid is mentoring somebody, is getting mentored and mentoring somebody, and has a purpose, November 30th doesn't happen.
And we're going to do everything we can to provide him the tools and the resources and the support to do that. And money's a necessary evil.
The name of that foundation will be 42 Strong, referencing Tate's football number and the strength he gave and got back from his teammates.
God forbid this very same instance happened in a private school, and I won't mention any by name because no one wants to even imagine it, just like Oxford doesn't. If this all happened at a private school, there would be no governmental immunity because it's private. And I would be able to sue these people under the Michigan Child Protection Act and prove negligence, which is just the failure to do something that a reasonably prudent person would do. We talk about negligence every day, all day. We all know what it is. It's a mistake. They made a really bad mistake and it hurt somebody. That's the proof I'd have to prove. But because these folks are employed by a municipality or the state, governmental immunity applies. Ladies and gentlemen, under Michigan law, I can't even sue Oxford as an entity. I want to. They deserve it, but I can't. Under Michigan law, I can only sue the king when the king lets me. And then, like I told you before, when he lets you or she lets you, they don't let you very much. And it's really somewhat of a kind of a hollow promise that you can. Under Michigan law, since these are public employees, I have to prove what's called gross negligence. It's a higher standard. It protects the guilty. Gross negligence is negligence that's so beyond the pale that, in essence, it assumes that somebody either willfully on purpose or intentionally, recklessly, dangerously blew their job. Now, I think we're going to be able to prove that here. But the way that Michigan law has interpreted this law for the last, 30 some years, but especially the last 20, is they throw these cases out of court all the time and never get to a jury because they say, oh, this doesn't rise to that level. Well, how do you know? That's a jury's job. No, under the law, it can't. So they throw these cases out. They also have to prove, we have to prove when it's a governmental agent that it's the, T-H-E, the proximate cause. Oh, here comes the lawyer giving definition. Sorry, this is crazy reality of Michigan law. In a normal case, I just have to prove a proximate cause. A relationship, one of many, between the negligent conduct of somebody, ran a red light texting, and them breaking my leg and me needing surgery. That's pretty easy to do. When you sue a governmental person and governmental immunity applies, and we've heard of this debate about sovereign immunity, governmental immunity, pretty much the same type of thing. I now have to prove the proximate cause, and I promise you the school district's going to come in here and argue the proximate cause, Johnson, Mears, Gregory's, and Aliano, the proximate cause was Ethan Crumley. We're not responsible, even if we screwed up. So, welcome to Michigan law. And what we're going to talk about here today, and the folks, I don't normally do this. Many of you in the room know me. I don't normally give you 100% access to my folks. But in this case, I think you need to hear it because I think the public needs to hear that currently under Michigan law, suing a public employee, you have less legal rights than those public state employees. And to me, that's unconstitutional and wrong. All right. I do want to spend a couple of minutes, forgive me, because we're going to talk about what the lawsuit says. And where's my, what our lawsuit lays out, you folks will be given access to, is the overwhelmingly substantial evidence that clearly Ethan Crumley was a mentally ill child that needed significant intervention. And we've heard the term therapy in this case. And he didn't need therapy on November 30, y'all. What he needed was immediately psychiatric to be hospitalized and evaluated his cause. Therapy suggests that he's not going to harm himself and someone's just talking through his problems. That day, he needed to be taken to an emergency room and seen. Same thing the day before November 29. Actually, probably long before that, when we hear, as you know, in the lawsuit, about somebody for the entire year of 2021 was on his own computer, on his cell phone that his parents gave him, shooting videos of himself hurting animals, killing animals, and obviously laughing about it and posting it. And we've all seen these stories. We've all read the same stuff. When you have a child that is hurting an animal, that is a precursor to someone with high violent propensities. It was a telltale sign. You could check the box of what I'm about to read to you. Any psychiatrist, any school psychologist would tell you this is a troubled child who needs to be evaluated. Yet they sat idly by And when they had the chance to stop it, they did it. Ethan, as you folks know, was clearly absolutely in love with guns. On computers, looking up Nazi propaganda, making Molotov cocktails at home. He's looked on his computer, on his home computer, so many times about school shootings and firearms that they're sending him ads, okay, which I didn't even know existed until this case. Send him an ad like, hey, dude, like, you know, we see that you're checking out school shootings so much, and they give him a reference to a mental health facility. We see that he was allowed to shoot, and hear me out. We're not here to talk about the right to have firearms and so forth in this case. Clearly, his parents had the right to have them. But when you have them, you got to be responsible, and you got to make sure that they're absolutely locked away, and they're not ever going to be available for someone to use without your express permission. Like anything else, a car or any other major thing that we allow our adult or adolescent kids to have. We know that Ethan, even in August of 2021, shooting guns and posting things. And we know again that he sent a message to his friend, it's time to shoot up the school. Just kidding, just kidding, just kidding. That August of 2021. And no one did anything. But at that point, right, that's the Crumleys. No question about it. And then you look at all the way in November, you have this kid who is going through clearly something. One of the things that really kind of saddens me, where the investigation revealed, you've all, I hope, seen it, where they found that Ethan was calling his mom or texting his mom while he was home alone and saying that he thought there were demons and bad spirits or someone in the house. And she would absolutely just leave him there and really do nothing about it. And any good psychologist or psychiatrist would tell you, if you have that ongoing, you need to look into that and make sure your kid's not having hallucinations. These are strong indicators of mental illness. We get to now November, and they know that Ethan has been wanting a gun for Christmas. It's not just a gun, folks, a 9mm Sig Sauer semi-automatic handgun. That's not just a normal Christmas present, at least in our house. They're entitled to have it, but they're required to make it safe. And they didn't, they the Crumleys. And you now know that Ethan posted less than 2 weeks before the shooting, him shooting, and we know that this is the gun I'm going to use. This is 2 weeks before the shooting. Now, I don't know about you folks, but at our house, we have parental monitors on cell phones and computers. Dad bought the gun with Ethan on the 26th at Acme, openly refers to the gun as Ethan's Christmas present in front of the gentleman that he's purchasing it from. The next day, November 27th, 3 days before the shooting, Mom takes Ethan to the gun range, and then she posts, this is Mom, Ms. Crumbly, Mom and Sunday testing out his new Xmas present. My first time shooting a 9mm, I hit the bullseye. With all these indicators, this child is now being given the gun. And we know that he was journaling. We know that he was videoing. The investigation has revealed this. If you guys, I hope see it, it's all in our complaint. That he was videoing and journaling that he was going to shoot up the school. No question that the Crumleys had access to all of this and should have known if they didn't already know, and I think they did, that Ethan was thinking about this and was stuck on that idea and couldn't get out of his brain. Talk about the day of before the shooting. And the day before the shooting, you've already heard, I'm sure, about that he was in class and that he was searching for ammunition. And the teacher was so concerned, we call it in our lawsuit Teacher One because I don't have that teacher's name, but the teachers, folks, are mandatory reporters. And like any school, we've already gone through the policies and procedures of Oxford. You can't be on your cell phone at school. And you certainly can't be searching for ammunition. And if you do, red flag, and there should be and is in any other school that I know, maybe Oxford's going to tell me different here. Zero tolerance for violence, zero tolerance for ammunition, zero tolerance for guns and weapons. Zero. So the teacher saw that, took a picture of it, of the ammunition, which we don't have yet, or I'd show it to you, and then send it to the counselor, Ms. Pam Parker Fine, F-I-N-E. I told you and read you the law simply because you have an internal procedure that says that you don't, that you're passing this person on, and it's now going to be their job to figure out whether there's suspected child neglect or child abuse. You can't get out of that by not reporting. And it's our position, and we think we're going to prove overwhelmingly that that teacher, knowing this student, and folks, we don't even have this kid's school files yet. So I promise you, as I sit here before you, after 36 years of doing this stuff every single day, there's going to be a lot more to talk about his background and what these teachers and administrators knew about this kid and what he was going through. So what happened that particular day is she then, the teacher sent her down to the counselor, Ms. Fine. What you may not have known is on that very day, investigation is now revealed that other kids in his classroom, this is Monday the 29th, folks, the day before the shooting, saw him with casings and live ammunition. Now, why did the investigators know that? Why haven't we heard that from the school? Did they know? And if they didn't know, why didn't they know? If I got a kid in class, if I have this kid in my house and he's on his cell phone looking up ammunition, it's like, whoa, dude, what are you doing? Okay, go to my kid. Did you see what he was doing? What were you guys talking about? Let's get some information about what's going on here. We've heard none of that until the prosecutor in this case revealed that fact recently in a court proceeding. So other kids saw gun case, right, shells, ammunition, live, and casings spent. Okay, did he have the gun that day? He gets down to Fine's office, and this is again a school counselor, mandatory reporter. I just read it to you. He gets down to her office, and she begins to interview the kid and calls mom, Mrs. Crumley. Mrs. Crumley never calls her back. So what does she do? Sends him back to class. Wait a minute, what were you investigating? What did you think was going on? Why would a kid in the middle of the school day look at ammunition on his phone? What does that tell you about what's going on in the home? And if you don't know the answers because mom's not calling you back, who doesn't call back, guys? Who doesn't call back? The level of suspicion went from highly suspicious to off the charts, knowing something's wrong here. So she had reasonable cause to suspect child abuse or neglect, or something in this home is going on here that's leading this kid to do something that's so dumb. He's doing it in public and people can see what he's doing to the point his teachers saw him. In fact, the prosecutor has talked about that he got caught. Caught means you're doing something wrong. He knew what he was doing. It's almost like he wanted to be caught. So what did she do when mom didn't call? Send him back to class. That is a violation of the Child Protective Act. What follow-through was there? Where was the second phone call? Where was the email? Where was the principal? Where was anybody? And we don't have that yet, but we'll tell you when we get there, because we're going to take the depositions of all these people. Now we got the next day, the 30th, the day of the shooting. And you all have seen and heard a little bit about what's going on that day. But there's actually two teachers involved in that day, and we describe them as teacher 2 and teacher 3 in our lawsuit. We've heard about the teacher and the drawings, which I'll show you again. But what we didn't hear, I didn't hear, until just recently, the investigation revealed is it the same teacher or different teacher? Can't tell you yet, because they haven't turned that stuff over yet since the prosecution is still just getting up and running. But another teacher saw Ethan on his phone watching a violent video of a shooting. Again, in class, folks, at school. Who would do that? Think about that. He knows he's going to get caught. And in a weird psychological twisted way, sorry, he apparently wanted to be. And they just ignored it. The other teacher saw what you've all seen is his test review paper. These are the drawings at 8:59 on November 30, just a few hours before killing Tate, before killing Justin and the other children, and right in front of Keegan and threatening him right to his face. This gun looks a lot like the gun I just showed you about that was posted, because that is his gun. That's his Sig Sauer. Underneath it, the thoughts won't stop. Help me. A person with 2 bullet holes, apparently waving because it's a kid, with blood all around. A bullet, blood everywhere is written. Smiley face, actually someone laughing, smiley face, so crying that they're laughing so hard. My life is useless and the world is dead. You don't have to be a psychologist or a psychiatrist to see this and feel the sadness and desperation of the person writing this on his Chapter 5 test review of using congruent triangles. Not anything to do with the schoolwork at all. And the teacher saw this and obviously took a picture of this. We've all read that. But now we have the teacher seeing the violent video of the shooting. We have a drawing of a violent shooting. We have a person bleeding out. We have a gun. We have a bullet. Other than simply saying, by the way, I got my gun in the backpack that's in the room with me here, because it was. I'm going to shoot up the school today. What else could be possibly would somebody want to know in terms of warning? So what we know is the teachers, of course, sent this down to the administration again. And again, what they're going to do is they're going to tell you, oh, wait a minute, that's how we do it at Oxford. Well, not according to the Michigan Child Protection Act, you don't. You won't get out of it because you have some internal policy that says you don't have to report when under the law you do. So he gets sent down to the counseling office, is my understanding. They say office, and they're not very specific, but we'll get there. And that's when he gets to see counselor number 2, who is Mr. Sean Hopkins. And Mr. Hopkins, to his credit, gets Nicholas Ejak, E-J-A-K, involved because he's the dean of students. The way apparently Oxford works is that the counselors are supposed to be involved if they have concerns about somebody that might need some psychiatric or medical care. They might be concerned about suicide. Apparently they weren't worried about homicide, but we'll get to that. And then the discipline end goes to the Mr. Ejak, the dean of students. So what happened was they went and they interviewed Ethan, and Ethan knew he was now in trouble. So Ethan thought he would obscure the evidence. Ethan crossed off the handgun. Ethan crossed off the words blood everywhere. But he left the bullet, interestingly enough. The thoughts won't stop. He didn't cross off, interestingly, but the line, help me, he crossed off.
See, this just makes me even more upset, knowing the parents knew, because remember, they act like they had no idea other than purchasing him the gun, of course. Y'all know in my last video how livid I was talking about this. So I'm just going to try, I'm just trying to stay calm this time. But hearing this, come on. I told y'all the parents didn't care. They knew their son had major mental issues, yet they took him to buy a damn gun into a gun range. Like, and I told y'all Ethan knew what he was going to do before he did it. That, to me, that says premeditated.
He crossed out the blood everywhere. Video game this is, he wrote. And then he crossed off, "My life is useless." He wrote in "harmless act." He added, "I love my life so much," with 4 exclamation points, and OHS rocks. "We're all," well, he spelled "we're" wrong, but we are all friends here," he wrote, and crossed off the "my life is useless" and "my world is dead." Any psychologist, any social worker, any person with half a brain, would know he got caught and he's covering up what he did wrong. So the fact that he actually did this is even more evidence, in essence, that he was trying to make it so obvious, I'm in trouble here. So what did they do?
Like, I get it. In all actuality, I get it. He does have some mental issues. Hearing all of this, I see that. He was in dire need of intervention. Now seeing all these facts coming out, I get that. But my heart and my sympathy and empathy goes out to to these four families who lost these 4 victims. That's where my heart and my prayers go to. But I get it. He had some mental issues. I get it.
Mr. Ejak, Mr. Hopkins, they called mom and dad. And what their statements have been to the investigators is that we called dad, and when he answered, there was just dead space air. We then called mom. Remember, mom was called the day before and never responded. This time she apparently picked up, and they asked her to come in and say, "We got issues with Ethan. We need to talk to you right now." And she said, "I can't because of work." Now, what we don't know yet is the interplay between Ms. Fine from the day before and these gentlemen, but I don't know where you all work, but I know this: if something's going on in Jeff Stewart's office, and he's not right next door, these folks, I'm sure they are because they're both counselors, but Jeff Stewart's going to tell Ben Johnson, "Man, something really weird happened here. I called the mom and she never even got back to me when her kid's looking up ammunition at school." So I believe the evidence is going to prove these 2 spoke and they knew what was going on. And what happened was these folks finally came to school, and they have Ethan now apparently in a separate room. He's explaining all this nonsense away through lies and deceit, covering it up. And the parents, the investigation has revealed, were not impressed with anything, didn't think there was a problem, nothing bad's going wrong, and oh, by the way, is the meeting over? So I say to you,
That's just so sad. They just did not give a damn. They didn't care. This just makes me even more angry. Man, wow.
your level of suspicion was high before, but when you have parents that look you in the face and either don't give a flying hoot or are just so oblivious that it doesn't register, all you have to do is make one call. It's called 911. There's a liaison officer from Oakland County Sheriff Department that works at Oxford School. Apparently wasn't there that day, but that's why we have these things called phones. I don't know about you all, but I carry mine right there. Call 911. We have a kid drawing 2 days in a row about guns, so forth, hurting people. We need your help. Come figure this out. And if they had done that, what would have happened is they have a task force in the Oakland County Sheriff Department, ladies and gentlemen, for this very thing. Some of you may know, some of you may not know. Part of the task force is the FBI. They get involved in these things to investigate, to see what's going on, and if there's other people involved, and if there's going to be a shooting. They never made the call. When the meeting was occurring with the parents in the room, Hopkins and Ejak told the parents that they suspected that Ethan had suicidal ideations, fancy terms for, we think the kid's going to hurt himself. There is, I believe, once we get into this, there's going to be evidence that there have been previous suicides at Oxford High School. My understanding is that there's been a couple in the recent past, so this issue was supposedly on the forefront of everybody's mind. Should have been. But apparently it wasn't. And what they ended up doing is they said to the parents, you need to get Ethan, they call it therapy. It's not therapy, it's intervention. Now, I ask you, think of what happened if this was at your house. What would you do with this kid? Now he's on his cell phone. He's writing pictures of this stuff. Would you let him near your kid without seeing what he's got in his hands or in his backpack that's, by the way, no longer with him? They left the backpack in the classroom that he was in. So now he's in the office without the backpack. Wouldn't you want to ask him, do you have a plan? There's protocols. And then ultimately what I'm going to do is say, hey, mom, hey, dad, our kids were playing at our house, but this is no longer fun, okay? You come get this kid and take him for help right now, or I'm calling the cops. 911, and let them figure it out. Child Protection Act. I'm permitted to report reasonable cause to suspect something is very wrong with this kid's health, welfare, and medical condition. He never did. So they wanted him to get immediate help that day, and the Crumleys refused. Level of suspicion goes from high to guaranteed something's up with this kid. Apparently, Mrs. Crumley told him, we can't take him home. We don't have time from work. So no, I'm not taking him home. Well, last time I knew, if your kid gets suspended or they tell you to send him home, you have to. What did they do? The Crumleys left, and they told him when they were going out the door, you've got 48 hours to get your kid help or call Child Protective Services. Sound familiar? CPS. Nice try, but you needed to do it that day. Immediate is what the law says. Immediate. So what did they do? Crumley's left. Ethan stayed at school. Time had passed, so it was a different hour of classroom. And based on our understanding of the facts, Mr. Hopkins, being the counselor, went down to the classroom, got the backpack, brought it to Ethan, and gave it to Ethan without searching it. Let me say it again. He gave him the backpack without searching it. And I go back to my analogy. If this is at your home, what would you do? I wouldn't even ask. And you can tell me, then there's a law. Good luck with that. Absolutely had an obligation to. This is beyond gross negligence. Ethan then goes back to class. His parents leave the building somewhere around 11 o'clock, and we know before 1 o'clock, less than 2 hours later, his rampage and what it did. So my clients are very sensitive to the fact that this is their community. My clients, our clients, are very sensitive to the fact that this was their high school and that these were the people that they entrusted with their children. They lived there for a reason. They wanted to be there. They're a close-knit community, and they liked the school. But these errors are so far beyond negligent. They are grossly negligent, even though we shouldn't have to prove that. We will. And they are absolutely the best opportunity that anyone had to stop Ethan from what Ethan was clearly there to do that day. Because according to the investigation, the gun and the ammunition was in his backpack. So, when people ask, and you're going to want to know, why are you doing this? You're going to hear it from these folks. But everyone responsible should be held accountable. Everyone responsible should step up and have to face the ramifications. I'm not the Oakland County prosecutor, so the Crumleys are all charged criminally like they should be, and they are guilty, all of them. Hence, we sued them in this case because they are partly responsible too. So are these folks from Oxford. And as evidence comes forward in the case, if it leads us to more people that violated the Child Protection Act, then we will be bringing them to justice as well. Last thing I'm going to mention about lawsuits and civil, I'm not the prosecutor. I can't put them in jail. All I get to do is ask for money. You folks love that question. I don't blame you. At Johnson Law, we don't put down large numbers in a lawsuit just to get your attention. You guys, we have your attention, and we knew we would in this case anyway. It's one of the most tragic, saddest things I can think of. I've lived in Michigan my entire life, my 60 years. I can't think of anything worse than this. Fact of the matter.
Man, this is just really sad to know that all of this could have been avoided. And I can't get past the guidance counselor giving him back the damn book bag. The boy was posting online before his dad with his nutty ass purchased him the gun. You'd think after all the hand drawings, threats, text messages, video searches, conversations with teachers and other students, the counselor would have, he would have checked the bag, checked the damn book bag before giving it back to him. So he should be held accountable. All of this would have been avoided. And these 4 teens, they would still be alive today. So I get it. The school officials should be held accountable because they should have done more. There is a protocol. And because they didn't follow proper protocol, 4 teens lost their lives. What do you guys think about that? Drop down in the comment box. Let's talk about it. But anywho, I wanted to bring this update as promised, and we'll keep you guys posted as more information comes out. I'm going to leave the link to the video so y'all can go watch it in its entirety because it's pretty lengthy. It's an hour or so long. With that being said, guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you already haven't. And hit that notification bell so you'll be sure to see when I drop new videos and bring you more content. And guys, follow me on all platforms at SistaTalktv. Bye.